Silence is often underestimated in a world that prizes constant chatter and instant reactions, but strategic silence, silence used with intention, holds a unique power that transcends the noise of everyday life. When you choose silence in moments where most would expect a response, you are sending a message without uttering a word. This isn't about shutting down or retreating in fear, but about choosing when and how to engage. Understanding that not every situation requires a reaction. Strategic silence is like a pause in music. Silent but incredibly impactful. It forces people to pause and think, to reconsider their assumptions. In relationships, whether personal or professional, silence can act as a filter. It separates what matters from what doesn't, and it allows you to conserve your energy for the moments that truly deserve your attention. Instead of reacting out of impulse, you allow yourself time to process, to understand, and to respond in a way that aligns with your true purpose. It's the difference between being a person who always reacts and one who responds thoughtfully with purpose. When you choose to be silent at the right moment, you elevate the conversation. People might expect you to argue, to defend yourself, or to engage in a back and forth. But when you stay silent, you disarm them. Because silence is unpredictable. People don't know how to handle it. And that's where its power lies. In silence, you have the upper hand, and you control the space without needing to say a thing. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your time, and your emotional energy, guarding your peace becomes one of the most important decisions you can make. Peace isn't something you can buy or find in external circumstances. It is an internal state that requires active protection. People, situations, and even your own thoughts can invade your sense of peace if you don't put boundaries in place. Guarding your peace means not allowing the chaos around you to dictate how you feel or react. There's a deep strength in choosing to preserve your calm in the face of distractions, arguments, or conflict. It's easy to get caught up in the storm, to feel like you have to respond to every person who questions you or every situation that challenges you. But guarding your peace is about knowing when to step back and preserve your mental and emotional clarity. It's about recognizing that you don't have to let every negative comment, every drama, or every tension pull you in. The moment you prioritize your peace, you send a clear message to the world. Your inner tranquility matters more than external noise. This doesn't mean avoiding confrontation or ignoring issues. It means approaching challenges from a place of calm, where your thoughts and actions are rooted in wisdom rather than reaction. When you guard your peace, you are intentionally choosing what to let in and what to shut out. You protect your heart from being influenced by things that would otherwise drain you. Sometimes, guarding your peace means saying no to certain conversations, disengaging from drama, or stepping away from toxic environments. It's knowing that not every battle is yours to fight, and that your well-being is far more important than proving a point or winning an argument. It's about protecting the core of who you are, your values, and your emotional health. By guarding your peace, you ensure that no one else has the power to disturb your calm unless you give them that power. He said, when to speak, when to stay silent. Expand it and don't end any ending sentence. ChatGPT said, when to speak, when to stay silent. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is a skill that can set you apart in every aspect of life. It's not just about having the right words to say, but about recognizing the right moment to use them. In many situations, the ability to hold your tongue is more valuable than any clever remark or impulsive reaction. Silence at the right time carries its own weight. It's not about being passive or avoiding confrontation. It's about being deliberate in your communication and choosing what's best for the moment. There are times when speaking up is necessary, when you need to stand for what's right, when your voice can bring clarity, or when it can change the course of a conversation. But the truth is, many of us have also been in situations where we spoke too soon or too loudly, only to regret it later. The most powerful communicators aren't always the loudest or most forceful. They're the ones who know the value of waiting for the right moment to speak. They understand that sometimes silence provides the space needed for others to reflect, for things to settle, and for truth to come to light. On the other hand, staying silent doesn't mean you're avoiding conflict. It can often be a more profound response to adversity. Silence can be your way of showing that you're not interested in engaging in a battle that won't add value to your life. It's not the absence of words, but the presence of discernment. Choosing silence in the face of hurtful comments or baseless criticism may seem counterintuitive, but it can be a way to maintain your integrity and peace without lowering yourself to the level of negativity. It's about choosing what not to say because you understand that some words once spoken can't be taken back. Understanding when to speak and when to remain silent also requires emotional intelligence. It means knowing the impact your words can have and being mindful of the timing. Speaking out of anger, frustration, or impatience often leads to regret, while speaking with intention, clarity, and compassion leads to greater influence. Silence is not absence. It's a presence of self-restraint, where you give yourself permission to wait, think, and then decide if speaking is necessary. Silence is often seen as something passive, a moment of retreat, a sign of weakness. Yet true strength lies in the ability to harness silence in powerful ways. There is an unparalleled power in remaining silent, especially in the face of conflict, negativity, or adversity. Silence does not imply surrender. It signifies control, discipline, and inner fortitude. When we choose silence strategically, we shift the power dynamic in a situation. We are not allowing others to dictate our emotional state or actions. Instead, we decide to stand firm, unshaken by the demands or distractions around us. Silence in this way becomes a form of strength, because it communicates a confidence that transcends words. One of the strongest forms of silence is silence in the face of conflict. When someone attacks, challenges, or provokes us, the natural human instinct is often to respond in kind. We may feel the urge to defend ourselves, to argue, or to set the record straight. But there is an incredible strength in choosing to remain silent, especially when we know that our words will not change the outcome of the situation. In these moments, silence becomes a reflection of our inner power. By choosing not to engage in fruitless arguments, we preserve our energy and avoid unnecessary drama. We show that we are not defined by others' opinions or actions. Our peace, our self-worth, and our sense of identity are not tied to the approval or validation of those around us. Silence also allows us the space to reflect and process. When emotions run high, silence can be a tool to regain composure. When we're provoked, our immediate response may be driven by anger, frustration, or hurt. But silence gives us the breathing room to step back and avoid reacting impulsively. In these moments, silence becomes a mechanism for self-regulation. It allows us to calm our minds and approach a situation with clarity and perspective rather than being ruled by knee-jerk emotion. This control over our responses in turn is an expression of strength. We are not beholden to external forces. We are able to decide how we respond. And sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Moreover, silence can be an empowering tool when others expect you to be rattled, upset, or even defensive. When you choose silence in the face of criticism, gossip, or baseless accusations, you defy their expectations. You deny others the satisfaction of seeing you react. This is a display of incredible emotional strength. When someone throws stones, silence is often the most disarming response. It confuses them because it goes against the pattern they've grown accustomed to. Their attempt to provoke you has no effect. And in this way, silence becomes a quiet but potent display of your strength and resilience. You refuse to let their actions or words dictate your emotional state. Silence also creates space for self-empowerment. There is strength in not needing to explain yourself to others. In a society that often pressures us to justify our choices, silence allows us to protect our boundaries. We don't owe anyone an explanation for how we live our lives, what we believe, or the decisions we make. Silence in this context is an act of self-respect. It communicates that we value ourselves enough not to engage in conversations that diminish us or question our worth. In a world that constantly seeks validation and external approval, silence becomes a reclamation of self. It is a refusal to let the world tell us who we are. Furthermore, silence can be a tool for personal growth and transformation. When we remain silent, we open ourselves to listen to others, to our own thoughts, and to the deeper truths that lie within us. In silence, we become more attuned to our intuition, to the quiet whispers of our inner voice. This listening, this stillness allows us to grow stronger from within. It is in moments of stillness that we connect most deeply with ourselves, uncovering layers of resilience, courage, and wisdom that would otherwise remain hidden beneath the noise of everyday life. Lastly, silence is a form of leadership. In a world where people often feel compelled to speak over one another or assert dominance through words, the ability to remain silent can set a leader apart. Leaders who speak less but act more have the power to influence through their example, not just their words. They demonstrate strength by knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Understanding that sometimes silence speaks louder than any message could. It commands respect without demanding it. Silence, in this sense, becomes a tool of quiet authority, an expression of leadership that is grounded in self-assurance and wisdom. The strength in silence is not just about holding back words. It's about knowing that silence is often the most potent response. It's about understanding that silence, when used intentionally, can empower, protect, and elevate us. Through silence, we not only preserve our peace, but also demonstrate a strength that goes beyond what words can convey. Self-control is one of the most essential qualities a person can possess. It is often what separates those who achieve their goals from those who fall short, those who build lasting relationships from those who struggle with connection, and those who maintain inner peace from those who are constantly tossed around by life's challenges. The power of self-control isn't just about restraining ourselves from indulging in immediate desires. It is the foundation of all personal growth, a quiet strength that enables us to live a more deliberate and purposeful life. When we embrace the power of self-control, we tap into a deeper reservoir of strength that allows us to master our impulses, make better decisions, and create a life that aligns with our values and long-term goals. Self-control is often misunderstood as mere willpower, but it is far more than that. It is a skill that requires both mental discipline and emotional intelligence. At its core, self-control is about the ability to manage our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in a way that serves our greater good. It is not about suppressing desires or denying ourselves pleasure. Rather, it is about having the ability to choose how we respond to stimuli, whether positive or negative, and make decisions that reflect our deepest aspirations. The power of self-control enables us to resist distractions, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and stay focused on what truly matters. One of the first areas where self-control plays a critical role is in the realm of our emotions. Emotions are powerful forces that can drive our behavior in ways that are not always beneficial. Without self-control, we might find ourselves lashing out in anger during a disagreement, succumbing to fear during a challenging situation, or acting out of frustration when things don't go as planned. Yet the ability to control our emotional responses is perhaps the most important form of self-control we can practice. Emotions are not inherently bad, but when they are allowed to run unchecked, they can lead to decisions that we later regret. Learning to control our emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means becoming aware of them and choosing how we express them. It's about recognizing that we are not defined by our emotions, and that in moments of intense feeling, we have the power to pause, reflect, and make conscious decisions. For example, in a heated argument, instead of letting anger dictate our words and actions, we can take a step back, breathe, and choose to respond calmly, even if our emotions are still raw. This level of emotional self-control allows us to navigate life with a greater sense of peace, reducing the damage that impulsive reactions can cause to our relationships and our mental health. Another critical aspect of self-control is the ability to delay gratification. In a world where instant gratification is more accessible than ever, whether through fast food, social media, or consumerism, the ability to delay pleasure in favor of long-term rewards is a key factor in personal success. When we exercise self-control, we resist the urge to indulge in temporary satisfactions that might feel good in the moment, but ultimately hinder our growth or success. For example, we might resist the urge to procrastinate, knowing that putting in the effort now will yield far greater rewards in the future. We might choose to save money instead of spending it on fleeting desires, understanding that financial stability requires sacrifice in the present to secure a better future. The concept of delayed gratification is essential not only in achieving personal goals, but also in cultivating self-discipline. The ability to choose long-term satisfaction over short-term pleasure is what allows us to break free from cycles of unhealthy habits, addiction, or self-sabotage. Whether we are trying to lose weight, improve our finances, or make progress in our careers, self-control is the bridge between where we are and where we want to be. It's the voice inside us that says, I'm willing to wait for what's truly worth having, rather than giving in to what is easy or immediately available. Self-control also plays a key role in decision-making. Every day we are faced with countless choices, and many of them require a level of discipline and focus to make the right one. From the food we eat, to the people we spend time with, to the projects we take on, each choice we make shapes our future. However, when we lack self-control, we make decisions based on temporary emotions or external pressures, rather than our deeper values or long-term goals. In moments of weakness, we might choose convenience over health, indulgence over discipline, or avoidance over confrontation. But self-control empowers us to rise above these momentary impulses and make decisions that are aligned with our true desires. One of the most powerful aspects of self-control and decision-making is its ability to help us avoid regret. How many times have we made choices in the heat of the moment only to look back later with regret or shame? Whether it's overeating, overspending, or saying something hurtful in an argument, the lack of self-control often leads to consequences that we wish we could undo. But when we practice self-control, we can avoid these regrets by taking the time to consider the long-term impact of our choices before acting impulsively. We learn to pause, reflect, and act from a place of intentionality rather than reacting based on fleeting emotions or external pressures. In addition to emotional regulation and decision-making, self-control plays a significant role in how we relate to others. In relationships, self-control allows us to be patient, understanding, and compassionate. It prevents us from reacting to every offense or misunderstanding, and instead, it helps us take a step back and approach situations with empathy and wisdom. For instance, in a disagreement with a loved one, rather than raising our voice or saying something hurtful in the heat of the moment, self-control enables us to listen, reflect, and respond with care. When we embrace self-control in our relationships, we create an environment where trust, respect, and understanding can flourish. Furthermore, self-control allows us to stay true to our values, even when circumstances challenge us. In difficult situations, when the pressure to conform or compromise is high, self-control gives us the strength to stay grounded in what we know is right. It allows us to maintain our integrity, make ethical choices, and stand firm in our beliefs. Whether we are faced with temptation, peer pressure, or moral dilemmas, self-control empowers us to choose what aligns with our core principles rather than what is convenient or easy in the moment. Self-control is not something that can be mastered overnight. It is a lifelong practice that requires commitment, awareness, and intentionality. However, the more we cultivate self-control, the more it becomes a natural part of who we are. With time, we become less reactive, more focused, and better equipped to handle the challenges of life. We become individuals who are not swayed by every passing emotion, every fleeting temptation, or every external influence. Instead, we become the masters of our own responses, creating a life that is deliberate, purposeful, and aligned with our deepest values and aspirations. Embracing the power of self-control means embracing a life of greater freedom. The more control we have over ourselves, the less we are controlled by external circumstances. We become empowered to choose our reactions, our behaviors, and our path in life, regardless of the challenges that come our way. Self-control doesn't limit us, it liberates us. It frees us to pursue our goals with unwavering focus, to build meaningful relationships, and to live a life that reflects our true potential. There are moments in life when the storms around us seem relentless, and the pressure to react is overwhelming. Whether it's a personal struggle, a professional setback, or a challenge in our relationships, adversity often brings with it a barrage of emotions, opinions, and pressures. In these moments, it's easy to think that the loudest voice or the most forceful reaction will bring resolution or justice. However, there is a quiet power in choosing silence in the face of adversity. Silence is not an absence of strength or a sign of weakness. It is a powerful response that allows us to maintain control over our emotions, preserve our integrity, and often find a deeper clarity that leads to true resolution. When faced with adversity, many of us instinctively want to respond, whether it's to defend ourselves, explain our actions, or fight back against injustice. It feels natural to want to express our feelings, to speak our truth, or to make our case. However, the challenge in these moments is that our initial reactions are often influenced by emotions such as anger, fear, or frustration. These emotions can cloud our judgment and lead to responses that we may later regret. Our words, once spoken, cannot be taken back, and in the heat of the moment, we might say things that cause further harm to ourselves or others. In these instances, silence becomes an invaluable tool. It creates a space between the stimulus of adversity and our response, allowing us to gather our thoughts, regain our composure, and choose a response that is both measured and purposeful. Choosing silence in adversity is not about avoiding the situation or pretending that nothing is wrong. On the contrary, it's a way of demonstrating emotional intelligence and self-control. It's about acknowledging that while we cannot control the challenges we face, we can control how we respond to them. Silence in this context is a conscious choice, a decision to not let the external chaos dictate our internal state. By holding our words and actions in check, we maintain our peace and prevent the situation from escalating further. We refuse to let our emotions be manipulated by external circumstances, choosing instead to respond with wisdom and clarity when the time is right. In addition to emotional regulation, silence in the face of adversity can be a powerful form of resistance. In a world that often expects immediate reactions and quick resolutions, silence disrupts the usual pattern of conflict. It can be disarming to others, especially those who expect a heated argument or an emotional outburst. When we choose to remain silent, we deny them the reaction they might be seeking, and this shifts the power dynamic. Silence forces those around us to confront the situation in a different way. Rather than engaging in an endless back and forth, we give them the opportunity to reflect on their own actions and words. In some cases, silence forces them to question their behavior and reconsider their approach without us ever having to say a word. Silence is also an invitation for us to reflect on the deeper truths of the situation. When we resist the urge to immediately react, we create space for introspection. In the midst of adversity, it can be difficult to see the bigger picture. Emotions can cloud our judgment, and we may become fixated on the immediate pain or frustration of the moment. However, silence allows us to step back and reflect. It gives us the opportunity to ask ourselves important questions. What is truly at the heart of this issue? What is the most constructive way forward? What values do I want to uphold in this situation? In the absence of reactive noise, we can hear our own thoughts more clearly and make decisions that align with our core beliefs. Moreover, silence can be an act of courage. Adversity often brings with it a need to assert ourselves, to prove our worth, or to make ourselves heard. But silence in these moments speaks volumes. It shows that we are confident enough in our own strength and conviction that we don't need to shout or argue to be heard. Silence can be a powerful form of nonverbal communication, one that conveys strength, resilience, and dignity. By refusing to engage in destructive patterns of conflict, we rise above the noise and take control of our own emotional and mental state. In this way, silence becomes a declaration of our inner strength and confidence. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. Our calm in the face of adversity is proof enough of our fortitude. Silence can also be a protective mechanism, not just for ourselves, but for others. In situations of conflict or adversity, our words can have a lasting impact on those around us. In moments of anger or frustration, we may lash out at others, saying things that hurt or damage relationships. Silence in these moments serves as a safeguard. It prevents us from saying things that might cause irreparable harm to our relationships or our reputation. Choosing silence is a form of self-preservation that prevents us from making decisions in the heat of the moment that we might regret later. It protects both our integrity and the integrity of those we care about. Furthermore, silence can allow space for healing. When we are facing adversity, whether it's grief, loss, or betrayal, it is easy to become consumed by the emotional weight of the situation. In these times, silence allows us to retreat into ourselves and process what we are going through, rather than seeking constant external validation or trying to explain ourselves to others. Silence offers a reprieve. It gives us the time and space we need to heal, to reflect on our emotions, and to find a path forward that is aligned with our sense of self. In the stillness, we can connect with our own inner wisdom and find the strength to move forward. The power of silence in adversity is also evident in its ability to foster resilience. Life is full of challenges, some of which we may not have the power to change or control. In these moments, silence allows us to accept the things we cannot change and to focus on what we can control, our response. Resilience is not about avoiding adversity. It's about facing it with grace, strength, and patience. Silence, in this context, becomes a tool for building resilience. By choosing not to be swept away by the turbulence of the moment, we create the emotional space necessary for growth and strength. Silence also has a way of revealing the truth. When we engage in conflict or adversity with words and arguments, we may cloud the situation with our biases, fears, or assumptions. But when we choose silence, the truth often rises to the surface. In the absence of immediate reaction, the other party may begin to reflect on their own position, their own behavior, and may even come to the realization that they were wrong or misinformed. Silence in this way creates an environment where truth can emerge naturally without the need for us to force it. It allows the situation to evolve in a way that brings clarity, resolution, and sometimes reconciliation. Finally, silence in the face of adversity teaches us the value of patience. Adversity can feel like a fire that burns through our lives, demanding attention, intervention, and resolution, but silence requires patience. It requires the willingness to wait for the right moment, to trust that the situation will resolve itself in time. Patience in this sense is not about inactivity, but about knowing when to act and when to remain still. In the stillness of silence, we learn to trust in the process of life and in our ability to navigate through it with grace and dignity. Choosing silence in adversity is one of the most powerful tools we have for maintaining our peace, protecting our integrity, and finding strength in the face of life's challenges. In a world that values noise, reaction, and immediate resolution, silence stands as a powerful alternative, a response that speaks volumes without uttering a single word.